Hey y'all, this is Travis with Hoss Tools, and this is a little segment we do called Garden Goodies. It's just a compilation of short videos that we shoot on our phone throughout the week as we're walking through the gardens, harvesting things, weeding, doing whatever we have to do to maintain a vegetable garden so we can grow our own food. I really hope you enjoy it, and if you have any questions, always put those in the comments below and we'll try to answer them for you.
Well, looky here, our zinnias are a-blooming. Don't seem like too long ago we planted these guys. We got us 2 double rows here, 4 different varieties. On this first half of this double row right here, we've got our key lime pie mix, which is a combination of white and lime colored zinnias. Let me see if I can find a... There's a pretty white one right there. Nice bright white coloration. Let's see if we can find a, there's a lime one there. Just starting to open up. So the white and the lime makes a good pairing. That's why we really like that mix. And then here we've got our Ice Queen zinnia. This is one I've never grown before, but I really like it. There is a little bit of variation here among the pink and the white on the petals, but this is kind of what we're looking for here. Nice pink on the inside, white petals on the outside. Some of these are kind of all that color. Some of them, the white is a little less pronounced. Some of it, like this guy, the white is even more pronounced. So a little bit of variation there, which is always kind of fun. Good to see. And then over here we've got our cactus mix on one half, and we've got our Binary Giant mix on the other half. And I'm trying to, these guys haven't really bloomed as much as the other ones. Ice Queen zinnia seem to be first to the party. This here, I can tell by the size of these bloom heads here. These guys get nice and big. This is our Binary Giant mix right here. So the Binary name means big zinnias. It's kind of the gold standard for zinnias as cut flowers. That's what this half right here is. And then this half down here is our cactus mix zinnia, which has a little different petal shape. The petals are kind of curled a little bit, just give you kind of a different look there. So those are coming along. Lots of blooms everywhere on those guys, and we'll soon be doing a piece of a YouTube video showing you how we prune these guys initially to make a more bushy growth habit as opposed to a real tall growth habit that could get blown over by the wind. So stay tuned for that. Well, it's been a few days since I've been able to get out here in the okra patch. We've been getting rain from old tropical storm Marco for the last 3 or 4 days. Just kind of some of them outer bands and laying the rain on us. Hopefully it will dry out this afternoon. I can come in here and pick my okra. Them 2 right there are about just right as far as what we like to harvest with our jambalaya okra. I showed you on a previous little short video how tall this Star David okra was getting. That one there's leaning over, but you can see what happened. They got so tall and the ground got so wet that they just fell over. Now I had planned on coming in here with my loppers. They'd already got too tall, and like I always say, I ain't getting on a ladder to cut okra. They had got too tall, and I was gonna come in here with my loppers and just cut them off even at the ground anyways, but all that ground moisture just made them fall over. It wasn't like there's been a ton of wind out here. You can see all the others, all the jambalayas are standing straight up. All my Silver Queen, my Red Burgundy, Cow Horn, all those are just standing straight up. So wasn't like we had a ton of crazy wind out here knock them down. They just got so tall and heavy that they toppled over. But that's all right. Like I said, we're just gonna cut them down anyway. This will just make them easier to cut down. Take them over to the burn pile and let them kind of decompose there. The Star of David, although yes, it did get too tall quicker than the others, I will have to say, if you like frying okra, this is the one you need to grow. It is the best. Let's see if I can grab one right up here. This is the best frying okra I found, just because it's got them nice big kind of rib pods there. And you can cut it in some nice big pieces, put a little cornmeal on it, and that's just the finest frying okra that I've ever had, in my opinion. Now these other okras are good for frying too, and making okra and tomatoes and whatever else you like doing, but that right there is your prime time frying okra. Now the downside is these plants look like they get taller than the rest of them, so you might have a shorter harvesting window than some of these other varieties like the jambalaya. They ain't gonna be as productive as the jambalaya, but like I said, it's a fine frying okra. But we've got our goodie out of these. We'll take them on down. Rest in peace, Star of David okra. We'll see you next year. So we just incorporated our buckwheat cover crop, and I want to show you what we got here. So this stuff was about 4 foot tall. We mowed it down as close as we could and ran over it with the tiller one time to kind of chop everything up, incorporate some of this organic matter. Now usually with any cover crop, if you're just using a walk behind tiller like we got, one pass is not gonna get everything chopped up enough to where you're gonna be able to plant. I mean, you could plant in this if you was planting transplants, but it's still a good bit of debris in there, which is good stuff. I mean, anytime you can add organic matter to your soil, it's going to make it nice and workable, give you some really nice tilth. Now this soil here wasn't always great. See that little hump right there? So at some point, my wife's grandfather, who lived here before us, built kind of these berms along the property with clay, built them up so the water would flow a certain direction and stuff. So this plot had a lot of that in it at one point in time, but you know, over the years, cover cropping, tilling in a lot of this good organic matter, composting, you know, adding a lot of good compost, has made this soil a lot better than it was when we started. Look down here, some nice, what we call friable soil. It breaks up really easy. It's not super powdery. I mean, you can still kind of ball it up in your hand and it'll maintain its shape, which we want to see. We don't want to see just straight powder, because that doesn't hold nutrients very well. So we want to see some good tilth, good workable soil, but that can also, you know, going to be balled up in your hand like that. I will tell you from experience that this buckwheat tills in and incorporates much easier when it's green. I've tried mowing it and waiting a week or so and then tilling it in. It gets kind of crispy, and sometimes these stalks will wrap around the tiller blades and stuff. So it works much better to do it when it's green. So I would recommend mowing it and then coming right behind and chopping up with the tiller. We'll let this kind of decompose in the soil a little bit, maybe give it, you know, anywhere from 5 days to a week, and then we'll come in and till it one more time. And at that point, we probably will be ready to plant here. Gonna have some fall pole beans going in this spot, and maybe a few other things, but really happy with how our soil looks after that quick buckwheat cover crop. Doesn't take but about, you know, 5-6 weeks if you let it flower for a week or two to just get some magical results there, as far as lots of organic matter being added to your soil and great soil tilth. Have you ever seen something called a fairy ring? Well, we've got some semblance of one right here. This is kind of on the back side of my homestead, my plot of sorghum Sedan grass over there, and we've got a big pecan tree right here. This spot on my homestead, if we get a lot of rain, which we had, you know, 4 days or so of rain with That tropical storm kind of grazed us a little bit. When we get a lot of rain, we always get mushrooms popping up right here in this spot. But I've never seen this many, and I've never seen them start to form some semblance of a fairy ring like we see here. Now, fairy rings I'm familiar with. When I worked at a golf course in college, we used to get them and they would form nice big circles. This one here is not necessarily a complete circle, but you can see the semicircle here starting there and going all the way around there. Then it kind of hooks back around to here. Hasn't really kind of connected the dots yet, but these things are really cool. And so what happens is the mycelium, which is the kind of underground portion of the fungi, we see the reproductive bodies there, what we call mushrooms. Well, the mycelium are underground there, and as they use up nutrients in the soil there, they'll move outward and move outward and move away from each other, and that's what causes them to form a ring. Like I said, this ring's not perfect. I've seen some nice pretty circles before with these guys, but those, as the mycelium use those nutrients, they'll move outward and the circle gets larger and larger and larger. Now, usually around here, these mushrooms, you know, once I cut the grass and once it dries up a little bit, they'll go away. The fungi is always there underneath the grass. Just when we get a lot of rain, that's when they start producing these fruiting bodies here, these reproductive structures. You can see all their little gills and stuff here where they have all their reproductive structures on the other side there. So I just thought that was neat. First time I've really seen a fairy ring in my yard. Let me know if you guys have ever seen one of these on your homestead. So I think it was last week I showed you guys how we had mowed our sorghum Sedan grass and how we do it with the push mower and kind of chop and drop and add those clippings to the soil. And I told you this stuff would grow back, but just in case you didn't believe me, I wanted to show you. So this is what it looks like. This stuff is just super resilient, just keeps growing back. Now, a lot of cover crops won't do this. Iron clay peas won't grow back like this. Buckwheat certainly won't. Sun hemp will a little bit, but that is what's so great about sorghum Sedan grass, is you can do this chop and drop method. So this stuff was mowed down probably, you know, 3 or 4 inches high just a week ago, and you can see now it's back up anywhere from 12 to 8 inches tall along there, and as it grows it'll get thick in there again. Still doing its job as far as weed suppression. Still looks nice and green and healthy, which means we got some good nutrients in our soil. And what we do is we just keep an eye on this stuff, and over time, after the 3rd mowing or so, maybe the 4th mowing, you might start to see some little seed heads popping up at the top here, and that's when we know it's time to be done with it. We'll mow it close and till it in. We still got a ways to go, but this, like I always tell you, is my favorite warm season cover crop, just because you can get so much biomass out of it, because it just keeps growing back. And you know, it's not hard when you do get ready to till it in. It incorporates really easy. It's not like, it doesn't spread, it stays exactly where it's at, and it's not hard to, you know, incorporate, turn over a plot and have it ready to plant. It just keeps doing really good stuff for your soil there. And this plot here definitely needed it. This is a sandy plot, gets farmed hard, and we have to be really aware and make sure we compost it a lot, add a lot of organic matter, and we're certainly doing that with this sorghum Sedan grass here. Well, I just threw in the towel on this midsummer to late summer crop of slicing cucumbers. This Olympian cucumber here we had in this plot right here. We also had some marigolds over and some Lebanese squash. We've since got out of there. We mowed the marigolds down. So considering what we were dealing with as far as the summer heat, this Olympian variety did pretty well for us. We probably got, I'd say, close to 500 pounds of cucumbers off that little 30-foot row there. Now at some point disease set in on them, and no pickle worms are tough to battle this time of year. You can see that guy right there had a nice little pickle worm infestation on him. So it got to the point where production was declining, pickle worms were getting bad, so we just decided to dish them, rolled it up here, and I'm just letting that plant debris there kind of decompose a little bit more before I trash this bundle right here. This thing, it can get pretty heavy when you got all those leaves and everything there, so we let it kind of die off a little bit, then we can haul it to the trash a lot easier. It ain't so heavy. Now this plot here, which is about 20 by 30, 20 foot wide, 30 foot long, is going to be my fall sweet corn plot. Now as you can see here, I've got some cleaning up to do. As soon as it dries up a little bit, I got to get in here with my wheel hoe, maybe even a push-pull hoe, and get this nice and cleaned up here, especially along this right side. Get it weed free, amend it a little bit, and this is going to be a nice little spot for some fall sweet corn. Now we put up a ton of sweet corn earlier this year, so this is just be a little plot. You know, I don't need to grow a lot of it. We already got a lot in the freezer, so we'll just grow a little plot, and we'll you know, just grow enough to eat fresh, share with friends and neighbors, that kind of thing. And I haven't grown corn here in a long time, or I'd say three years or so. Last corn I grew here was when Hurricane Michael came through, and it wiped it out right before it was ready. But hopefully I have better luck this time. We'll squeeze about 5 or 6 rows in here. And fall, a lot of people ask, with fall sweet corn, is there a variety that does better in the fall? And there's not really. They all kind of do the same. So I think I'm going to plant a variety called Providence that we carry, and we'll put some drip down, and the end of August, early September, we'll get some fall sweet corn planted. If you've got fall sweet corn going, or you're thinking about it, let me know what variety you're planting and how it's coming along.